Spain is one of the top destinations for teaching abroad, and it's easy to see why. There are lots of teaching programs, the culture is rich, and the rest of Europe is only a cheap flight away. I'm Jamie from ESL Teacher 365, and I taught in Spain for 5 years. While I really enjoyed my time there, it wasn't always tapas and siestas and traveling. If you're curious to see why I quit teaching in Spain, then just keep watching. The first reason why I quit teaching in Spain was that it was hard to save money. Teaching in Europe generally means breaking even since salaries are moderate and the cost of living is moderate to high. Since I taught in Spain from 2010 to 2016, stipends offered by language assistant programs have either stayed the same or even decreased in some cases, while rent prices have increased. Additionally, Spain doesn't offer benefits like free housing, flight allowances, or finishing bonuses, which are more common when teaching abroad in Asia. The only benefit you usually get in Spain is free healthcare. I was able to fund my travels through private tutoring after school, but in general, if you are only relying on your stipend or salary from teaching, you'll find it difficult to save money while teaching in Spain. The second reason why I quit teaching in Spain was there wasn't enough room for professional growth. The easiest way to teach in Spain is as a language assistant, which means you are assisting local teachers in their classrooms. You might pull out a small group of students and help them with vocabulary, or teach the whole class a lesson that you prepared under a local teacher's supervision. Language assistants cannot become real teachers in Spain without getting a different visa, so this means that you are most often stuck in this position and unable to advance. I was able to teach in an international school in Spain because I have a US teaching license, but I only got this job because I was in the right place at the right time. International teaching jobs are really competitive in Spain, so most people end up jumping from program to program to program. I think Spain is a perfect destination for new teachers because you don't have as much responsibility when working as a language assistant. But for certified teachers who are trained and skilled, working as a language assistant year after year is frustrating. If you aren't sure where to look for Teach Abroad jobs, then grab my free Ultimate Teach Abroad Jobs Guide using the link down below. The third reason why I quit teaching in Spain was the lack of support for students with special needs and Spanish behavior management in general. I was shocked at how these students with special needs were treated at the Spanish schools I worked at. And of course, not all Spanish schools are like this, but I can only speak from my experience. In the charter school that I worked at, recently arrived students from Morocco as well as Roma students were essentially placed in the corner and considered unteachable. When I asked about including some of these students in my lessons, I was told that they were stupid and to ignore them. At a public school I worked at, there was a student who was hyperactive and often distracted the other students. Again, I was told to ignore him and that he wasn't expected to learn. I never saw a school counselor or other support worker in either of these schools, and the counselor that was in the international school was responsible for students from pre-K through high school and was completely overworked. Also, the default method of behavior management at the charter and public schools I worked at in Spain was screaming at the kids and shaming them. If the kids started to get out of control during an activity, they were yelled at and made to sit in silence, and students were sometimes singled out and mocked if they made mistakes. As a language assistant, technically I wasn't responsible for behavior management, but these behavior management techniques just made me feel very, very uncomfortable. The fourth reason why I quit teaching in Spain was I got burnt out. When I worked at the charter school, I taught around 200 students. At the public school, I taught multiple classes and worked with several different teachers, but I was spending hours lesson planning, plus I was in the classroom with these energetic students, and there were about 20 to 30 kids per class, and it was exhausting. At the international school, I taught a smaller class of only 18 students, but I was responsible for teaching reading and writing and math and history and art and science. So it was a lot of lesson planning, and this time I was also responsible for communicating with parents, grading, and behavior management. I loved teaching Spanish kids, but after 5 years, I was completely burnt out. The fifth reason why I quit teaching in Spain was that I achieved my goals. I've shared some negative aspects of teaching in Spain that led me to quit, but there were some positive reasons as well. While teaching abroad in Spain, I was able to live with Spanish roommates and learn Spanish, visit new cities in Spain and the rest of Europe, gain international work experience, try Spanish food, which was delicious, and live in Europe as an American. While there are some parts of teaching in Spain that I didn't like, I do recommend teaching in Spain for a year or two if you can. It's a beautiful country with passionate people and fun-loving students. What I've learned from teaching abroad for the past 11 years is teaching abroad has challenges. Nowhere is perfect, and each country is a new opportunity to understand the world a little bit more. If you'd like to learn about all the different Teach Abroad programs in Spain, then you can watch this video next. If you'd like any extra help getting started teaching abroad or online, then fill out my survey in the link down below and I'll email you back with some helpful resources. You can find me on Instagram at ESLTeacher365 and leave a comment below if you have any questions about teaching in Spain. Until the next one, happy teaching!